Hello students, welcome to Online Study for You. My name is Tanvi Ajmera and I've been taking care of the verbal ability section for our channel together. Hope you guys are all doing well. Too many festivals have come by, so I hope you and your family have been healthy. Well, now it's time to come back a little bit to our discussions, to our videos, to preparation again, right? And our today's discussion is on Infosys, right? So we all know that the exams are just due, and I'm sure all of you are preparing with all your strength and vigor. So our today's video is on the Infosys sample paper questions, right, that have featured. So we just want to take you through the entire video. We want you to understand the questions and look at how to answer them. So without further delay, we'll directly move to my presentation. Also, just a quick tip, it will be very nice if you guys actually keep solving the questions on your own end also. So generally students keep waiting for me to give the answer. But my personal suggestion is that if you guys also actually take the opportunity of solving these questions on your own, you guys will be able to understand where you're faring with regard to the verbal ability section. Now, the entire question paper has been divided in various patterns and forms. The first aspect that we've noticed is on critical reasoning. So critical reasoning is that part of verbal ability where you're not just checked on your grammar skills, but you're also checked with your reasoning or ability skills. That's why critical reasoning. But it's very, very related to logic. So here you do not need a lot of verbal emphasis, but you need to be logical about what you're reading. Yes. With that, we look at the first question. So it says, without new generation computer chips made in Japan, the US Department of Defense cannot guarantee precision of its nuclear weapons. If Japan told Washington that it would no longer sell computer chips to the United States, the Pentagon would be totally helpless and in a dangerous position. Which of the following statements strengthens the argument? Now, first, let's look at what the argument is. It says that new generation computer chips that are made in Japan, that is very important for the US Department of Defense. And it cannot guarantee how well these weapons will be without the nuclear weapons. The next statement is that if Japan told Washington that it would no longer sell computer chips, so they say, hello, we're stopping our relationship, we're no longer selling chips to the US, the Pentagon would be totally helpless and in a dangerous position. So looking at this, we have to look at any statement which is going to strengthen our argument further. Okay. Now, look at the options that they have given to you. The accuracy of missiles depends on the quality of computers. Now, remember, students, when we are looking at these questions, for these questions, what actually happens is there are certain questions which are inferences कि हमें ये पढ़ के ये समझ में आ रहा है. Whereas there are certain questions which are actually strengthening or weakening the argument. So the fact that accuracy of missiles depends on quality of computers, that's actually an inference from the first statement. The Americans can do a little better than depend on the intelligence of other countries. Now, this is more like an opinion, right? I am not strengthening the argument with this. I'm just giving an opinion. The third says Japan can completely upset the American military balance if it sells its computer chips to the Soviet Union instead of the US. Last but not the least, the Americans have been wise in calling off the arms race, right? Now, looking at this, if you had to further strengthen the argument, of course, we can make a statement that Japan is in a position to completely upset the American military balance if they go on and start selling the computer chips to Soviet Union instead of the US. So the idea is that first you break the argument and you understand it. Second, you look at which one of them are inferences. What is it that you're deriving from the passage? Whereas what is it which is making your further point all the more stronger, right? So that is your strategy for this one. Question number 2. From October 1, it will be mandatory for oil refineries to blend at least 5% of ethanol with petrol. So they're talking about a mandate that has come from the government saying that the oil refineries have to blend at least 5% of ethanol with petrol. The government is enthusiastically pursuing the fuel called jet roll. So this combination of ethanol with petrol, they are calling it jet roll. And they are saying that the government is very enthusiastic because it is increasing efficiency. Therefore, the problem of fuel rises is also met. So this one major problem that fuel prices are rising can get met if we are using jet roll. The government is very happy about this new finding, which it will introduce in another week's time, right? So they are saying that they are very, very happy that they've been able to find something like Jetrol because it's solving most of their problem, and it will be launched in 1 week's time. Now, which of the following statements is weakening the argument? Yani, whatever has been said, with what point can I make the impact lesser? Okay. The first one says the fuel thus produced emits pollutants which are 3 times more dangerous than that emitted by the existing fuel. The fuel Jetrol is highly affordable by almost all segments. Isn't that adding to the point? Because they said that the problem of fuel prices is also met. So this is actually strengthening my argument. Yes. But we are trying to say that no, we have to weaken it. We can't make it further stronger. The price of spirit is also likely to increase. Now, spirit, ethanol, Jetrol, petrol, khichdi bana di, not required. Many industries have now begun to manufacture ethanol. Now, that's further supporting the argument. If a lot of industries are producing ethanol, we'll have more Jetrol. So the only thing which is weakening our argument is the first one. That of course it has major advantages, but the pollution will be 3 times. So how can the government launch such a thing, right? I hope you guys are clear. Question 3, I'll give you 30 seconds to go through this and see if you can solve it on your own. Great. Striking results have been obtained from investigations of the general standard of health of different income groups. So there's been an investigation by the general standard of health relating to different income groups, which is rich, upper middle class, lower middle class, just above poverty line, all of them. Public school boys who overall come from better fed families are taller, heavier, and stronger than secondary school boys. So we are talking about public school boys who are coming from better families, and they are taller, healthier, stronger, everything. Moreover, infantile death rate of children among children of labor was four times as great as it was among the well-to-do children. So we are saying that this infantile death rate amongst the laborers, right, the labor class, is 4 times more than it is with well-to-do families. Now here we have to say, what can we infer? What do we understand, right? What can we derive? Not strengthening, not weakening. So children from high income groups overeat, they eat more, yes. Even if poorly fed children are given better diet, they cannot improve. That's more like a conclusion. It's not an inference. Although nutrition is only one factor of difference, it can hardly be without significance. Public school boys are given more training and physical activities to become taller and stronger, right? The one that we can derive out here, the fact that they overeat, we do not have evidence to suggest that. They cannot improve. Again, like I said, that's more like a conclusion. Public school boys are given more training and physical activities. That also can't be an inference. Inference is not some point which you are gathering from somewhere. It's not additional information. It's what you derive from the current information. From the current information, we derive the fact that nutrition, though is only one point of difference, it is of very, very great significance. All right, so that was critical reasoning questions for you. Moving on, we have corrective usage. So here you will see it's more like a fill in the blank question where you have one blank and you have 4 options. You're supposed to decide which one would be the correct answer. High prices keep out the masses and justify the high taxes. So if you have high prices, it's going to keep out the mass, which is the common people, Aam Aadmi, and justify high taxes in a vicious circle. Vicious circle is something which starts and you come back. So, we say education leads to, lack of education leads to poverty. And we say if you are poor, you cannot afford education. So that's a vicious circle. You keep coming back to the same point. In a vicious circle, that raises transaction costs. So your cost of transaction is going up and dash in the economy. Now we are talking about a vicious circle, which is raising transaction costs. So we are hinting towards something which is not positive. So we already know that we are supposed to look at a negative word. Okay. Now, if you look at the options, inefficiencies, intransigencies, insufficiencies, inconstancies, all of these are actually negative words, because the prefix in basically means negate or basically means negative. Okay. So now actually our choice has to be to understand the context as to which one is going to be the correct answer. So when we are talking about transaction costs, we are talking about vicious circle, okay? Insufficiency means something which is not adequate. Inconstancy, so we say he's not a very consistent or a constant performer. What does that mean? First term he's got 100, second term he's got 40, third term he's got 60. So he's not maintaining that graph, okay? Intransigencies, this is something, again, maybe it possibly may be a new word for you, but I'm going to get you to do a little bit of hard work and tell me what do you think is intransigencies, right? Quickly, if you can think, find out what the meaning is. Intransigencies. So in the case of, students, when it comes to grammar, I've told you time and again that it's very, very important that you guys know different words, etc. So intransigencies is one new word for you, right? And inefficiencies. Now you guys already know what is the meaning of the word inefficiency. So when we are talking about high prices, when we are talking about justification of the taxes, when we are saying that it's a vicious circle, we are definitely indicating towards a system which is not inadequate, which is not inconsistent, but something which is inefficient. So inefficiencies is the correct answer. But your homework will be to leave in the comment box what is the meaning of the word intransigencies, okay? Moving on. It is overwhelmingly agreed that the majority of today's emotional and physical problems dash the stresses of life. So we are saying that mostly, overwhelmingly means a lot of people agree that the majority of today's, whatever emotional and physical problems that we have, dash the stresses of life, okay, has its origin in, have its origin with, have their origins in, have had their origins on, okay? Now, firstly, I want you to understand that generally when we are using the word origin, the preposition that goes with origin is in, okay? So the origin of yoga is in India, okay? So origin, generally when we are using that word, we generally use the preposition in. So you can see two out here are with in. So we can negate B, which is with, we can negate D, which is on. Now has its origin. Look at what the sentence it. We are talking about two things, today's emotional and physical problems. So we are mentioning plural, not singular. When we are mentioning plural, we cannot have has. She has a cold, they have a cold, right? So in that case, we cannot use option A. Our correct answer is C, because we need to look at plural. So it is overwhelmingly agreed that the majority of today's emotional and physical problems have their origins in the stresses of life. I hope this is clear. Moving on. Retailing is the key to music business because it relies largely on walk-ins and dash. Okay, quick 15 seconds. Look at the answers for yourself. Right? Impulse purchase, immediate decisions, hasty generalization, unexpected transformation. Now let's try and understand. Unexpected transformation. Retailing is the key to music business because it relies on walk-ins and unexpected transformation. Can retailing depend on something which is transforming that to unexpectedly? Not logical. Hasty generalization. Now, when you generalize it, retailing in the first place cannot be generalization, has to be customization. You will try and cater to every customer you have. So this also does not make sense, okay? Immediate decisions, yes, it can work. For most of you, you people would be confused between A and B. Impulse purchase, immediate decisions. Now remember, purchase is your word, but before purchase, what sort of purchase that you have, if it is getting described by an adjective, it has to be impulsive and not impulse purchase. Grammatically, that doesn't make sense. It should be impulsive purchase. So a correct answer boils down to immediate decisions. That retailing is the key to music business. Why? Because it relies largely on walk-ins and immediate decisions. Also with purchase, if you see, it's just purchase and not purchases, whereas we are talking on walk-ins. So we needed a plural form. I hope this has been clear for you. IBM was the awesome, undisputed king of computer trade until the entry of Microsoft and Intel. What has happened since is a dash of fortune. So again, let's understand the context. IBM was the awesome, undisputed. Nobody was competing in that position. It was the king of computer trade. Until what? Until the entry of your Microsoft and Intel. What has happened since? Now we are saying this person, Raja Tha, he was the king. They had an undisputed position. What has happened since means I'm trying to indicate it isn't the same anymore. So they were something at one point in time. It's now sort of changed. What has happened since is a startling revelation. Revelation is when you have some sort of a thing which gets revealed out in the open, it gets disclosed in the open. So startling revelation of fortune doesn't really make sense. Startling reversal, that of course we can soft mark as our option, because let's say you were doing very well. Now if it's the opposite, your performance has reversed, it's gone or it's taken a wrong turn. So reversal does make sense. Startling outcome of fortune. If you were the undisputed king and now you're not doing well, it cannot be an outcome of fortune. And startle accumulation, when you're gathering something, accumulating it, that also cannot be our correct answer. So of course, our correct answer is startling reversal. Error correction. So here you're going to see sentences and there's one part in the sentence which is underlined. There are suggestive options of that underlined option, underlined part of the sentence. We are supposed to look at what can replace it the best way. So for this also, what you need to do is you need to emphasize on parts of grammar. Skeptics emphasize the fact that many of the conditions said to be related to allergy fluctuate in severity and also has a significant psychological component. Okay, so skeptics, people who are not believing in something, they are skeptical, emphasize the fact that many of the conditions said to be related to allergy. So they say whatever conditions are related to allergy fluctuate in severity. So they are not consistent, they keep fluctuating, and also has a significant psychological component. So there is a psychological, addition to it also. Now let's look at the options. And will have a significant psychological component, and have a significant psychological component, and had a significant psychological component, and also must be having a significant psychological component. Okay, so when you look at the sentence, it is said to be related to fluctuate in severity, also has a significant psychological component. Our correct answer is option B. Okay, skeptics emphasize the fact that many of the conditions said to be related to allergy fluctuate in severity and have. So this is parallelism in grammar, that I have to use the word have in this place, a significant psychological component. Will have, because we are not talking about the future, right? Had, if we are saying fluctuate in severity, we are not talking about the past, and must be having, that is also present. So we don't need that. We need a simple present tense, which is have a significant psychological component. Number 2, the Dutch Health Council analyzed several studies and found none of the evidence that radiation from mobile phones were harmful. So there is a health council which has done a research, and there is no evidence that they found that mobile phones are harmful. So we have to look at the answer options. None of the evidence that radiation from mobile phones was harmful. So instead of were, they have made it was. Not one of the evidences that radiation of mobile phones was harmful. No evidence that radiation from mobile phone was harmful. Evidence that radiation from mobile phones are not harmful. Firstly, what we are supposed to say is no evidence. That is very important. Not none of the evidence. No evidence suggested that radiation from mobile phones was harmful. Radiation is uncountable. So we cannot use were, we will be using was. That is the correct answer. So for us, the correct answer will be C. Great. Fear of any particular enemy is definitely to be an instinctive quality. So when you basically fear any particular enemy, that's an instinctive quality. Humans have instincts. So it's one of the part of instincts to be fearful, though it is strengthened by experience and by sight of fear of the same enemy in other animals. So of course, instinctively, we have the fear. That fear gets aggravated by having some sort of an experience, by having the sight of fear of the same enemy in other animals, right? So again, we will look at the options. Fear of any particular enemy is certain to be an instinctive quality, is of a certainly instinctive quality, is certainly an instinctive quality, surely a certain instinctive quality. Now, what we need out here is instinctive quality is definitely there. But the word certainly means mostly we can say that it is the instinctive quality. So it's not certain, it will be certainly, right? And fear of a particular enemy is of a certainly instinctive quality because we are describing the quality, right? So is certainly an instinctive quality. We are describing the quality. C is our correct answer. Globalization too uses economic, social, and political relationships as well for creating new boundaries that are not dependent on geographical proximity. So we are saying that globalization in general, what does it use? It's using economic, social, political relationships for creating new boundaries which are not dependent on your geographical proximities, right? Now let's look at the options. Social and political relationship as well for creating, social and political relationships to create, that create, and relationships social and political as well to create. Now globalization too uses simple past tense, simple present tense, new boundaries that are not dependent. So creating is not required, right? Social and political relationships to create, yes. That create, and as well to create. So we have really boiled down to something between B and C, but B will be a correct answer because globalization too uses economic. Why? Social and political relationships to create new boundaries that are not dependent, not that create new boundaries, to create new boundaries that are not dependent on geographical boundaries. So B is your correct answer. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video and solving it along with me. Of course, you'll see the answer options are very similar. फर्क सिर्फ 19-20 का है, but good luck to you guys and we will be there helping you all the time. So thank you so much for watching my video. Good luck.